Now, online abuse aimed at women in politics has been under the microscope before, but new Australian research suggests the problem is becoming so severe it's changing who is prepared to put their hand up for public office. A national survey by Women for Election has found almost 9 in 10 women in politics have experienced online abuse or intimidation, with half now saying they're not sure they'd run again if they had their time over. The report warns the rise of AI-generated abuse and deepfakes is making an already serious problem even worse. WAMP and Labor MLC Katrina Stratton has experienced that abuse firsthand, and she joins me in the studios today. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ollie. Thanks for having me, and thanks for shining a light on this really important issue.
Well, what sort of abuse have you received online?
So I've had death threats online. I've had suggestions that I should have a bullet put through my head. I've been called all kinds of names, and I've had my ability to do my job questioned merely based on my gender.
What's that experience like personally?
It's pretty awful. I mean, I'm also aware that my mum and dad, my kids are reading those comments, but I'm also acutely aware that women who are considering running for office, whether it be local, state or federal government, are also reading those comments, and it is, as this research suggests, making them question whether or not they'd even put their hand up to run.
Were you prepared for it when you first entered Parliament, 6 years ago now, Katrina?
Look, I think it has got a lot worse in the last couple of years. I think the proliferation of some of the anonymous accounts, the bots, and certainly AI have changed the way that we're experiencing that online abuse. It certainly in the last little while feels more organised. I know that my posts get shared into groups, or they get shared by particular individuals with an invitation to come and comment on my posts, tell this so-and-so what we really think of her.
If you contact those social media platforms, do they do anything about it?
They do absolutely nothing, Ollie. And when you do nothing, you are doing something. So the comment that I got about, this person should have a bullet put through their head, I reported it several times to Meta. I know a number of my followers reported it to Meta. The feedback from Meta was that it did not breach their community standards. They wouldn't remove the comment. There were no consequences for the man who made those comments. So as I say, when they choose to do nothing, they are choosing to do something.
Has it made you ever think twice about being a politician?
Look, I'm a social worker by trade, Ollie. As you know, I've spent my entire career speaking up for people. So it hasn't put me off, but I think that probably my background has given me a grounding for that. It certainly means that sometimes I take a deep breath before I go on to social media. It has at times made me pause before I post about particular issues. We quite often, my team and I will restrict who's allowed to comment on my posts. Because I am aware that others who, perhaps are vulnerable or who are thinking about whether or not to participate in public life are also reading those comments. And I have a responsibility to them as well.
Why did you want to stand up and call this out, Katrina?
Because if we don't call it out, then these people continue to get away with it. There's no consequences for them. And currently there's no consequences for Meta either. And I would really like to see Meta take their social and community responsibility a little bit more seriously.
This report suggests that almost 90% of women surveyed have experienced online abuse. I was surprised it wasn't 100%.
Yes, I'm surprised it's not 100%. Maybe the other 10% just don't know. Their team are protecting them from some of that online abuse. Yeah, I'd be very surprised that it's not every woman in public office who's receiving this kind of abuse. And sometimes, Ollie, as well, it's not just the comments, it's some of the more casual reactions that you get. So I did a post recently calling it out. The West newspaper published an article about some of the online abuse that we've been receiving. Nearly 300 laughing emojis were put on that post. That kind of casual normalised acceptance of online abuse and threats is also kind of concerning.
So as we're talking, John T's just sent through, suck it up, princess. Do you think that all men don't get the same stuff?
Well, this research and certainly my experience of social media says that it is definitely gendered. The kinds of comments and threats that we get are definitely gendered. When you put yourself up for public office, I certainly expect that, some of my positions and, the policies of the government that I am a part of will be debated and challenged. And that's part of the democratic process. Insults and threats, they are not part of the democratic process at all.
You expect criticism, but you don't expect abuse. And if this report is showing that half of respondents say they might not have run for office had they known what was coming, what does that mean for our democracy?
That's a very poor outcome for our democracy when we have people who will consider not putting themselves up. And when we have women especially, when that kind of online abuse starts to impact the diversity that we see in our parliament, then that's highly problematic.
Charles wonders if the rhetoric from other countries like the US, for example, or even some of the extremists is now giving people a bit more bravado, Katrina. Do you think that might play into it a little bit?
I think that might play into it a little bit. I think we're certainly seeing an emboldenment of people who are, making some of these gendered comments, certainly the hate directed at the LGBTQI plus community. There are no moderators from Meta based in Australia, so those moderators are based in the US. So it's very hard to imagine that is not having some kind of influence.
So do you believe that it's something that's unique to women or women experiencing a different type of abuse than their male colleagues?
I do.
And how much of the abuse is sexist or misogynistic compared with disagreement over policy or politics?
The majority of it is criticism and questioning of our ability based on our gender. I wish it was debates about policy, Ollie. Like I invite that. That makes our democracy more robust. As a government, that makes our policy and legislation more robust. That's not what this is. The
report highlights that AI-generated abuse, manipulated images and deepfakes are also in action. Is that happening here in Australia?
Oh, I've had two AI-generated images posted about me just in the last 3 weeks.
So this happens every now and then?
This happens every now and then. Twice in the last 3 weeks is more than every now and then.
It is.
They were pretty offensive images that had been doctored. They were doctored photos that I had posted on my social media previously, which means they've gone to my Facebook page to retrieve those images and then doctor them with offensive material.
Does online abuse ever spill into real life? Have you ever felt physically unsafe because of what's happened online?
I definitely have changed some of my offline behaviour, particularly during the firearms inquiry. So I chaired the committee that did the firearms inquiry. I changed my security at home. I changed my security in my office. I changed my movements around Parliament House. And I even changed how my daughter got to and from work during that period as well. So the offline abuse definitely impacts the online abuse rather definitely impacts both your online and your offline behaviour.
If you enter politics, obviously criticism comes with the territory, but where should we draw the line, Katrina?
We should draw the line once it seeps over from being about policy, about legislation, about things that we're delivering into the personal. So as soon as we're making assumptions based on somebody's gender or somebody's ethnicity or somebody's sexuality, we've crossed a line.
What would you say to a young woman who's considering running for council, for parliament or another public role but is worried about the abuse?
I would say don't let them run you out of office. Stand up. Still have your voice be heard. I've had a lot of support from the Premier's office, from party leadership, and from my colleagues. So make sure you have good people surrounding you who remind you of what it is that you're here to do, and that is to represent the people of Western Australia.
Would you encourage your daughter to run for politics?
My daughter would be an amazing politician. She knows her own mind and she speaks it, and she's just the kind of woman we should have in Parliament.
Katrina, it's good to see you.
You too, Ollie. Thanks for your time.
That's Katrina Stratton, WA Labor MLC, joining us live in the studios today. Would you encourage your daughter, partner, friend to run for public office knowing the level of abuse many women now receive online? Why? Or why not? 1300 222 1025 as a survey of Australian women who hold elected office or are running for the office across all levels of government reveals that nearly 90% have experienced online abuse or intimidation linked to their political participation. Now, Licia Heath, the CEO of Women for Election, has been listening into that and joins me live on Drive. Good afternoon to you.
Hello.
Now, some people argue, obviously, if you enter politics, criticism comes with that territory. As I asked Katrina there, though, where should we draw the line?
We draw the line at abuse. We draw the line at death threats. We draw the line at rape threats against children. We draw the line against bricks going through windows, against nudification apps happening against elected women. I could hear some of the callers calling in that this is not the rough and tumble of politics 20 years ago, let alone 5 years ago. The environment has changed, and AI in particular is really scaling the threat at a rate that our democracy is not keeping up with at the moment.
The report calls for stronger protections, tougher action from platforms, and a national action plan. Which of those would make the biggest difference?
Oh, no question, greater accountability from the tech platforms. I think we don't fix this by asking women to toughen up, but I really want to call out the bravery of women like Katrina going on the record about this. We fix this by fixing the system, and any reasonable person listening to this show right now, Ollie, would say, why can there be anonymous accounts on Meta? Why, when somebody reports a death threat to Meta, do they say that does not meet their community standards? It's unacceptable.
And why don't we hear back from the social media platforms?
That's a great question, and I would say this is where I want to call out the amazing work of the eSafety Commissioner and that office. They are world leading in terms of the pressure being applied to the tech platforms at the moment. But they need greater resourcing to be able to meet this threat as well.
What do you say to women who want to run for any level of government or for public office, Licia?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing is it doesn't get better unless you get involved. That's at the heart of democracy. Democracy is people power. And if people disengage from the democratic process, then democracy gets a lot sicker. Make no mistake, with only 29 liberal democracies in this world currently, the smallest number since World War II, that there are many overseas actors that are trying to weaken democracies like ours. And there's global research to show to weaken a democracy, your first line of attack is to attack the elected women. And that is what we are calling for, to recognise that issues happening overseas are coming to Australia. Forewarned is forearmed. Let's not wait until a woman is killed in public office, which has happened offshore, including in the UK as recently as the last 6 weeks. Let's get in front of this. And a special call out to people that think, suck it up, princess. Consider that you are part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Licia, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ollie.
The CEO, Women for Election, Licia Heath, they're joining us live on